What do you have any other anecdotes? You gave us one. Do you have another one?
Yeah, I can tell another one. Let me think here. Um, okay, here's another one.
This is so good, Rich.
Yeah, dude,
You
I
have
got
the
stories.
depths of experience. I can tell, man. You have been through it, dude.
Here's
And
here's another one.
you are you seriously, you are a public hero. I really do regard you.
I don't know about that, but
I regard any
I can tell
public
some
school
stories.
teacher that does what you do as a hero.
Well, thank you. I don't know about that, but I do have some stories to tell. So, by the way, this is one of the things that I do in my talk. I want to continually tell parents like this is what's going on because like
Yes,
I don't know, people
please,
need to hear this. So,
please.
okay, so
Oh, hold
in my,
on one sec. One sec. Okay, so you got another story for us.
yeah, this is what I really like to do. I get really passionate when I start telling stories because these are really, really fun conversations that I get in. This next one comes from my philosophy class. It was right after we did a unit on morality, specifically the question whether morality is objective or subjective.
Mm.
We watched a debate where Greg Kokel debated a Canadian philosophy professor. And so after that, we're having a Socratic discussion. And some of the kids, like they're all over the place, but they don't realize it. Okay. One girl, who's a black girl, she's doubting whether slavery is really wrong. And so she's like, and I asked her, like, hey, let me back up a little bit. So she says, like at the outset, like, no, there's no real right and wrong. It's all subjective. It's all based on personal preference, blah, blah, blah. And so I said, well, okay, is slavery wrong? And she goes, it's like she's waffling back and forth. Like she can't decide. Like, yes, yeah, it's wrong. Wait a minute, no, because they were raised that way, and it was back then, it was a different society. So who am I to judge? Like, well, what am I saying? Like, of course it's wrong. Well, I mean, and it's like, oh, I don't know if it's wrong or not. And everybody was kind of like nodding along with her. So that was one thing. And then another part of the conversation, one of the students gets really dogmatic about it, and he starts just barking relativism. And you can't budge this kid. And he's like totally, it's like, yeah, we think the Nazis were wrong, but who are we to judge? Like all that whole thing, the whole 9 yards. And so I start asking questions and kind of showing that that's a little bankrupt and they might want to rethink that. And the rest of the class at one point in time, like he just doubles down, like he won't budge. And the rest of the class turns against him. And they're like moaning every time he's like, yeah, the Nazis, but who are we to judge? Like, we don't know, like, because that was their society and this is how we're raised. And everybody's like, oh my gosh, like they can't stand him talking. But then I go like, wait a second, guys, just 30 seconds ago, you were all saying the exact same thing. You were saying the exact same thing he was saying with a straight face. It's just now that he's saying it and you're hearing it played back at you, you can't stand it. Like, well, you got to make a decision. You can't play the fence. Like you can't be heads I win, tails you lose. You have to either some things are really right and wrong and we can know it or not, and quit playing both sides here. And so that was a really cool conversation because they didn't realize the stuff that they were reacting against was the very same things that they were saying just a minute ago. And I have that happen all the time.
Yeah.
It's like this massive cognitive dissonance, like they don't really connect the dots until somebody else does.
Yeah, and you have to have the courage to do that. I mean, first of all, you have to have the ingenuity to come up with this pedagogy. And then you have to have the courage to carry it through. So to point out the BS. I mean, the inconsistency,
yeah.
I mean, just to push them to a point where they see their own tendency, what they're doing, because that's the main. It's the same in college. It's the same in college. I mean, I will go a little bit further than you will in college. I mean, well,
it's the same in the workplace. It's everywhere. It's the same everywhere.
Yeah. Here, can I tell one more?